Hello, welcome back to my channel. The crown is for purpose, not power. Today, we're going to talk about the science of trust and influence. If you like this type of content, please subscribe so you're not going to miss the next episode. Have you ever met someone for the first time and within minutes you felt like you could tell them anything? But then you meet someone else who was intelligent, successful, and spoke beautifully. Yet, something inside you simply did not trust them. Why does that happen? Most people believe trust is earned through honesty, intelligence, or simply spending enough time together. Those things matter. But neuroscience tells us something even more fascinating. Your brain decides wherever someone is safe long before it decides wherever they are right. That means people do not trust you simply because you have the best arguments. They trust you because how they feel when they are around you. Today, I want to explore the neuroscience of trust and influence and why trust is so difficult to earn, why it can disappear in seconds, and why some people naturally influence others while others just struggle to be heard. Because trust is not just another communication skill. It is the foundation of every relationship you will ever have. Your marriage, your friendships, your career, your business, and your relationship with your children. Without trust, communication loses its power to create genuine connection. Without trust, leadership becomes control. Without trust, love becomes insecurity. So let us begin with one simple question. What is trust? What is trust? Trust is choosing to become vulnerable with another person because you believe they will not use that vulnerability against you. Every time you share a fear or ask for help, admit a mistake, or tell someone a secret, you are giving that person a little bit of power. And you are hoping that they will protect it instead of using against you. That is trust. And here is something fascinating. Your brain has its own chemical language for trust. Wherever you experience kindness, emotional safety, genuine connection, or even a warm hug, your brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin tells your brain, you are safe, you can relax, this person is not a threat. The most positive experiences you have with someone, the more your brain begins predicting safety. It starts saying, I can trust this person. They're probably not going to betray me. But there is another side to the story. The moment someone criticizes you, humiliates you, yells at you, or makes you feel emotional unsafe, your brain releases cortisol. So this is the body's stress hormone, and cortisol does something extremely important. It suppresses the oxytocin. So the more threatened you feel, the less capable you become of trusting the person in front of you. Suddenly, your brain is no longer asking, is this person right? Instead, it asks, am I safe? That is why it's almost impossible to trust someone who constantly criticizes you, someone who raises their voice, someone who humiliates you, or someone who makes you feel emotionally unsafe. Trust is not built through fear, it is built through safety, and it will always be that way. Researchers studying more than 87,000 leaders discovered that the people we trust most constantly share three characteristics. One, they build genuine relationship. The first pillar is the ability to build positive relationships. Think about the people you trust the most. They probably make you feel heard. They listen without immediately judging, and they remember what matters to you. They make you feel comfortable enough to be yourself. They are not focused only on getting their point across. They are focused on understanding you. That is why communication matters so much. Every conversation is an opportunity to either strengthen or weaken trust. The way you speak should show people that you genuinely care about what they think, what they feel, and what matters to them. You make eye contact. You listen more than you interrupt. You encourage cooperation instead of competition. And you help instead of criticize. And even when conflict is necessary, you remain calm. You set clear boundaries without attacking the other person. Because people might forget your exact words, but they rarely forget how you made them feel. The second one is they demonstrate competence and good judgment. The second pillar is expertise. People trust people who know what they are doing, not because they claim to be experts, but because their knowledge is reflected in the way they think, communicate, and solve problems. You recognize these people immediately. Others seek their advice. They explain complex ideas clearly. They remain calm under pressure, and they make thoughtful decisions instead of impulsive ones. And, and over time, they build confidence because their actions constantly produce result. Competence creates confidence, and confidence strengthens trust. The third one, they are consistent and do what they say they will do. The third pillar is consistency. This is where trust becomes real. Anyone can make promises. Trust grows when people keep them. Consistency means your action matches your words. You follow through. You keep your commitments. And when something unexpected prevents you from doing so, you communicate honestly instead of disappear. People do not expect perfection, but they expect reliability. That is what makes someone trustworthy over time. When you step back and look at these three pillars together, something interesting happens. Relationships make people want to listen to. Expertise give them confidence in what you are saying. And consistency give them a reason to keep trusting you. If one pillar is missing, trust becomes fragile. You can be incredibly knowledgeable, but if people do not feel connected to you, they might never fully trust you. You can be warm and kind, but without competence, people might enjoy your company without relying on your guidance. And if you have both relationships and expertise, but repeatedly fail to keep your promises, trust eventually begins to disappear. Perhaps the most surprising finding from the research was that the quality of your relationships matter even more than competence or consistency. Think about that for a moment. Trust is not built only by being intelligent. It is not built only by being reliable. It is built by making people feel understood, respected, and emotionally safe. That is why communication is so powerful. Every conversation is an opportunity to strengthen trust or slowly weaken it. So, if there is one thing I hope you remember from this lesson, is this: learning how to communicate is not enough. If you do not build relationships, if you never develop real expertise, or if people cannot rely on your word, your communication alone will never earn lasting trust. But when you combine genuine connection, true competence, and consistent action, you become the kind of person people naturally trust and gravitate to. The kind of person they choose to follow, to work with, and to build meaningful relationships with. Interestingly, the research found that relationships matter even more than competence. People trust those who make them feel understood before they trust those who simply know the most. Now, here is where things become even more interesting, because once you understand how trust works, you also began to understand why some people naturally influence others. Have you ever had the perfect argument, all the facts, all the evidence, and still fail to influence someone? Have you ever noticed that harder you try to prove you are right, the less the other person listens? Maybe happen with your spouse, your child, a coworker. You had all the facts, all the evidence, everything made perfect sense. But yet somehow the conversation only become more difficult. Or maybe someone tried to influence you, but no matter how logical they sounded, something inside you resisted. Why? Because real influence never begins with logic, it begins with trust. Most people think influence comes from having stronger arguments, but neuroscience tells us otherwise. People rarely change because of logic alone. They change when they feel emotionally safe enough to consider a different perspective. When people feel attacked, their brain stops learning. It starts defending. And once that happens, your facts no longer matter. Imagine a husband and wife talking about money, and the husband says, "You spend too much money. Look at the credit card statements. The numbers are right here." Yeah, maybe he's completely right. But if his wife feels judged, criticized, or blamed, she stops listening to the numbers. Her brain shifts into defense. Now, imagine he starts differently. "I know we both want financial security. I know we both work together. Can we sit and figure out a solution that makes sense for both of us and will feel comfortable?" You see, now the facts did not change. The numbers are still the same, but only one thing changed. She felt safe. And when people feel safe, they become willing to listen. That is the neuroscience of influence. The neocortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, planning, and thoughtful decision making, works best when people feel calm and emotionally safe. That means the order is always the same. First is connection, then trust, then influence. It's never the other way around. So before asking, "How can I influence this person?" ask yourself, "How can I help this person feel understood?" Because when people feel understood, they lower their defenses. When they lower their defenses, they become curious. And curiosity is what opens the door to influence. Real influence is not about changing people. It's about creating the condition where people become willing to change themselves. It's about creating enough trust that they become willing to consider a new perspective. So the question is not how can I become someone people naturally trust? The better question is how can I become someone people naturally trust and want to listen to? That is where lasting influence begins. Learning assertive communication is not enough if you are not an expert in your field and you do not keep your promises. Your communication skill alone will not earn people trust. In the long run, speaking well will not save you if people cannot rely on you. And my hope is that you will continue learning about communication while also developing your expertise and strengthening your consistency. When you combine these three qualities, strong relationships, genuine competence, and consistent action, you become someone others naturally trust. That is the kind of person people want to follow, work with, and build lasting relationship with.